Guys, it's your boy John the Liquid Ever coming back with another video, a very, very important video. So reports is coming out that the first, voluntarily practice for the Browns will be tomorrow. So that means it's an option practice. Players will have the option to go and attend that practice. But what stands out is that more information is starting to come out about this battle and how Todd Monkin is going to evaluate Shedeur and Deshaun Watson. Now, we still haven't heard any word on Dillon Gabriel, but supposedly everything is about to kick off tomorrow. Now, I'm pretty sure Shedeur, if this is true, I got to put a ledge on here because I can't 100% confirm this, but if this is true, we could possibly see Shedeur getting ready for the 2026 season in the next probably 17 to 16 hours. With that being said, 92 The Fan dropped the exclusive news about an hour ago about how this battle is finna be evaluated, how Todd Monkin is possibly going to make his decision. Now, training camp don't officially start until July. So it's just going to be basically two-hand touch football until about July. That's when we really going to get the meat and potatoes of everything. That's when we going to see what they really is finna do with the starting quarterback. Could we be hearing the name of the starting quarterback come July? I think there's a very possible chance that we could hear either Shedeur or Deshaun Watson be named the starting quarterback going into the start of the season. Because as of right now, there's a lot of reports coming out that they're either going to add Willis Levy, or Anthony Richardson to the battle. What does that mean for Dillon Gabriel? We don't know yet. Could he be the one getting traded? But y'all heard the video earlier that I did, man. Some could talk about it all they want, but that is news that is coming out of Cleveland. This ain't nothing I'm making up or anything like that. These reports that I'm reporting on is coming out the city of Cleveland. I'm not there. So we got to go off what we hear on this here internet. And just like I said, there's only several people I listen to. We could be mad at 92 The Fan all we want, but they get the juice, bro. They get the juice. You just got to pencil through what you want to hear from them.
The Chronicle Telegram. You can read his work on brownzone.com. He's our buddy Scott Petrak. Hello, Scott.
Hello, Scotty.
What's going on, guys?
Is it voluntary for you to cover voluntary workouts?
It is not mandatory.
Darn. Well, I'm glad because I want to read your stuff.
Appreciate it.
So that means everybody but Miles, right?
No, you know what? It'll be interesting. I mean, they don't even expect Miles to be there, but, I think there'll be good attendance. There was with Kevin Stefanski. I don't see why that would change. With Todd Monkin, it's a young team. I'm sure some of the veterans won't be there every day. Maybe they'll be there day one. But, the first couple of weeks, you can't even get on the field. It's just meetings and then strength and conditioning stuff. So, if you've been in the league a long time, I'm sure I know there's benefit to seeing the playbook and the new playbook and meeting the new coordinators. So I'm sure they'd love to have as many guys as possible there, and I think they'll have good attendance.
All right. So Todd has said all quarterback reps are not created equally. Yeah. Basically, how do you see him going into this? And once they are finally able to get out there, it'll be a couple of weeks. But
yeah, I think. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. I'm just real curious. It's like, well, he must have something in mind, or he wouldn't have actually vocalized it that strongly.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's going to be flexible. Like when you sort through his answers about the quarterback reps, he doesn't commit to anything. Doesn't commit to anybody. Doesn't commit to anything. Except that he's not going to focus on dividing them equally. So that's his stance, right? That we're not going to get caught up in, okay, Shedeur gets 8 snaps with the ones and Deshaun gets 8 snaps with the ones. And I think that's interesting because that's something from a coverage standpoint we do tend to focus on. Yeah. Okay, who's getting them and why are they getting them and is it fair? And I think, or it certainly sounds that way with Monkin, that's not his main objective, is to keep it fair. And not that everybody's not competing and not that they're not evaluating everybody fairly, but he thinks it hurts particularly the development of at least one of the quarterbacks if you're so caught up in trying to divide the reps equally. So I think that's interesting. It's going to be – we still need to see how it plays out. And, we're not there for every offseason practice. We're there for some of the OTAs and then all the minicamp. But, he said one day it could be Shedeur getting a bunch of the ones, and then the next day it could be Deshaun and even Dylan Gabriel, right? So I think there's going to be a lot of flexibility involved, but I don't think he's going to get caught up in trying to say everybody gets the same with this group and that group. It's going to be evaluating more what guys do with their given reps, and if that means Shedeur gets the ones for a week and Watson gets the twos for a week, so be it. And then if Monkin feels like, okay, it's time to switch it up, then he will. But it feels like a different approach. And again, we haven't even seen one snap on the field, but it feels like the approach is going to be different than a lot of the competitions we've seen in the past.
Scott, do you believe? Do you think he'll have a clear-cut number one guy going into training camp? I mean, is it?
Yeah.
I mean, it seems really quick to try to evaluate it during a voluntary and then regular OTAs, and it just seems like I don't know how this thing works.
Well, yeah, I think that's an interesting question, Andy, and he's made it clear that he would love to have that guy, right? He said at the Combine, He said it again at the owners' meetings, and I understand that because when you get to training camp, and we heard Joe Flacco talk about it last year, when he wasn't getting those first-team reps, is how valuable you think they are. And especially if Shedeur Sanders is going to be the starter week one, then he's a guy in year two. You want to get him as many reps in a new offense. He's going to have new people around him. You want to get him as many reps as possible with that starting unit. So I understand him, Todd Monkin, wanting to get to that point. But you're right, and he admits it, that there's not a lot of on-field stuff that they're going to see. So the evaluation is going to include meetings, and it's going to include everything, the grasp of the playbook. But I think he's going to have a day one QB1 when training camp starts in July. But I also think in the back of his mind that, and I'm assuming that's going to be Shedeur Sanders, just because I think that makes the most sense. Right. But then in the back of Todd Monkin's mind is, all right, if Deshaun Watson outplays him or Sanders struggles, I can still make that switch, right? So I do think he will leave flexibility. I don't think he's going to announce anybody as the week one starter, day one of training camp, but I think whoever it is, and I would guess it's Shedeur, is getting maybe all the first-team reps, but at least the majority of the first-team reps.
Scott Petrak joining us, Chronicle Telegram, brownzone.com. I agree with what you just said. It makes more sense for Shedeur to be that guy, and I would think Shedeur is going to be that guy. But to me, that means two things. I would think he actually has to beat out Deshaun, and I actually have a hard time picturing Deshaun Watson healthy, standing on the sideline holding a clipboard.
That's interesting, Jeff. The beat out part, you start there. I get what you're saying, that he's going to have to beat him out now.
Or at least be as good as.
Right. Again, we've seen it in the past. You can, I don't know if rig is the right word, but you can kind of rig the quarterback competition.
Yes.
Right? If you want a guy to win it and he's getting all the ones, then you say, hey, well, he's getting all the first-team reps. But the players know what they see, and the coaches know what they see, and if Deshaun Watson's throwing it great and Sanders is struggling, and they have not dismissed Watson, and I'm not dismissing him. I just think it makes more sense for Sanders to be the guy when you're talking about the future standpoint. Obviously, Watson's in the last year of his contract. It would take something spectacular for him to be here beyond 2026, so why commit to him as your starter, right? There's all kinds of reasons why I think the organization's better off if it's Sanders. But, yeah, he's going to have to play well enough to convince Monkin that he can win games and convince the rest of the team that, yeah, this is the right guy to be the starter. And then I get what you're saying about Watson standing there healthy, but what's the alternative, right? He's not going anywhere else. They can't trade him. They're not going to cut him. So, he could be the most expensive backup quarterback maybe in the history of football, but that's where they are, right? He has to be on the roster because he's making $46 million in cash this year. But what does he do for you long term? And can you count on him to be healthy? And if he's healthy, can you count on him to play well? And the answer is no. given his time in Cleveland, right? So there's a lot of weird stuff we could see, but that could be one of them where Watson's a play away and he's your veteran, your veteran backup, your veteran safety valve, your plan B if Sanders gets hurt or Sanders struggles.
How important is this for Todd Monkin? I mean, this is the first time rallying the troops together and for setting the stage on what he wants moving forward. I mean, we've seen so many coaches come in here on their first time, and how does he set the stage for what Todd Monkin, the head coach, is going to be like moving forward?
Yeah, I do think it's important. Andy, it's his first time in front of the group. It's his first time meeting a lot of the guys or talking to them face to face for sure. I think that's important, and I think it's important every year. And I used to ask Kevin Stefanski this, and he would downplay it. But I think it's particularly important when it's the new coach. I think every year is important. The first meeting, you set a tone, but especially when it's your first time as an NFL head coach, it's your first time with this group of guys as the head coach. I do think that's important. And, I know he's going to be super excited because it's a dream come true for Monkin. So I think that'll come across. I think he'll set the tone he wants to set, and he'll be honest because that's who he is, and he's going to be, straightforward and blunt. And we'll see how the guys react to that. I think they love it early. We'll see if the honesty, when you lose a couple games and he's ripping you, if that honesty still plays well. But I do think it's important, and I think Todd Monkin's probably really excited about getting these guys in the building for the first time.
I would assume Joel Bitonio doesn't show up, and we're wondering if Joel shows up at all. What do you think? And are you surprised that we're sitting here in early April and he still hasn't